Nosferatu, directed by Robert Eggers. Well, it's finally here. The long-awaited, most anticipated film. It's an interesting experience, to be honest. I feel like it did not disappoint, but I do have some issues with it. So my general feeling of the film is I loved it, and that's how I choose to experience film, through feeling, not through analyzing everything. Sometimes, of course, I am a passionate film fan, so of course I can't help sometimes but put on my little cinephile hat. But for the most part, I like to just feel a film and just absorb myself in it, and that's how I judge it. So my general feeling is love. I loved it. It was beautiful. It was everything. But I do have some issues. So I want to start with that because there's not many. So I'd rather just get that out of the way than I could gush. So, as we know, Robert Eggers is a master of tension, of setting up tension, of letting scenes breathe, and just long shots, long takes, but not for flashy action, which he did a little bit of in The Northman. But for the most part, his long takes are for immersion, which I love that. He's not trying to be like, ooh, look at this camera movement, look at it pan around something. It's just following the characters, letting us be immersed in the performances. But I felt like the editing was a little off in this film. Now, of course, that is completely subjective. My friend that I saw it with did not agree. He didn't even notice it. Yeah, so I don't know if that's just a me thing, or if maybe when I see it again later today, it'll go over my head, and I don't know. But at least for now, that did kind of stick out to me. Like I felt like there was like a good portion, like a good 6 or 7 cuts, that it just felt like the pacing was too fast. A scene, the film's very intense, so there'd be like a very intense sequence, and it cut, and then I feel like 2 seconds later, a character's talking in the next scene, and you're still processing and thinking about the last scene. So sometimes be like, whoa, okay, we're in the next one, and I feel like usually in most film, but especially in Robert Eggers, there's an intensity and there's like a good gap of breathing, of just taking it in, of like 5 to 10 seconds. So very random. I usually don't notice these things. So again, I don't know if it's just me, but that kind of stuck out a little bit. And the film's like a good length, like a 2 hours and 15 minutes or something. So I don't know. It's a good length, so it doesn't seem like they cut it super short, but perhaps they did. I don't know. So there's that. And then there's also very subjective, but I think some people might agree with me, how it's aesthetically a complete reinvention of Nosferatu. I love that. I love the fact that he's not trying to be direct adaptation and just trying to copy, I love that. I love that he's being original and being true to himself with a lot of historical accuracy. But I do think, as a Nosferatu fan, that I would have wanted to see some homage being paid, Like, he looks very different, and obviously there's no images, so I can't even spoil it if I wanted to. But he looks very different. He has a different outfit. He doesn't have the coat almost like this. His face isn't just painted white. He looks undead. He has a mustache, which I'll get into later. He does have the elongated hands and nails, which is great. That's very iconic, so I'm glad they kept that. But other than that, he does not look like Max Shrek at all. And there's not even similar scenes like him standing at the door looking all frightening. So I just wish there would have been a little bit of, like, I guess, fan service, just like, oh, like that's the same scene, or that's the same shot, or that's a similar shot. Yeah, whatever. Like, I know that's usually, I'm not into that. Some people might be like, dude, you just want it to be the same and blah blah blah. And again, I'm more than happy with most of the film. So again, as a Nosferatu fan, I would have wanted to see a little bit of that. But yeah, that's it. Just to put it succinctly, quickly, simply, this film is nightmarishly beautiful. That's just the perfect way to describe it. This film is just, my friend that I went with, he's very into poetry, very into Edgar Allan Poe, and he just put it best. He just was saying how this film just felt like poetry, and it's just so beautiful. It's like, even though the film is very horrific, even though it's shot like a horror film, and they don't try to romanticize it and make it like they kept referring to it as a love triangle. I guess technically it is, but it's not. He's more than like the traditional vampire. He is truly a monster in this film. Even though the film was scary, it didn't feel scary because it just felt so. If you're into anything goth, darkness, is just so beautiful. It's just so stimulating, and it's just incredible. And Robert's directions is amazing as always. Not really a surprise there, you know. It's just so immersive, so lived in, while being so atmospheric. If you know anything about Robert Eggers, he loves atmosphere. He's obsessed with atmosphere. Aside from historical accuracy, he loves atmosphere in films. And I love atmosphere in film. So that's why I love him so much, because he knows how to craft an atmosphere, and I love that. Everything's working together. The architecture, the production design, the costume, the cinematography, it's all just one cohesive palette that just makes it like gothic bliss. Like, it just looks so beautiful and so unique. A unique voice from Robert Eggers and his cinematographer and his whole team, you know? And Orlok truly feels like a nightmare. He feels like you feel his presence in every scene. Even when he's not there, he feels like he's there. You feel like he's in the shadows. You feel like he's manipulating, like his power, his influence is there. And I love that. I feel like you've never seen that before. Like, just feeling that so much, that his power is reaching, you know? Robert stays very true to his voice, to his way of portraying horror. Again, I would have wished there was more of like that creepy stillness that Max Schreck has in the original Nosferatu. How he's just there and just, it's almost like uncanny valley the way he's moving. But again, Robert stays true to his voice, so the horror is very in line with things singing like The Witch. It's hidden from you because it's so low lit, but at the same time you're seeing it head on. It's like aggressive, and that's the big thing I noticed. This Orlok was aggressive. He wasn't so silent. He talks a lot, actually. You don't see him that much, but you hear his voice a lot, and his voice is just haunting and beautiful. Again, he's so aggressive, and he does not feel like a cool, interesting, romantic vampire. He feels truly evil. He does not feel human. He feels like evil incarnate, truly. And that's amazing. Now onto the performances. In order to talk about the performances, I need to simultaneously talk about the character writing. If you've seen the other Nosferatu films, you know that their character writing has never been the best. Very superficial, very just like, especially the first one, the original, which is my favorite, but still, it's 1920s silent era, you know, so of course. But it's very just hitting the beats. Like, this happens, and here we go, this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. There's no fleshing out. And what this film does so well, what Robert does so well, is he literally expands everything. It almost feels like this is like the definitive version now, but of course, I'm not gonna say it is, but just because everyone is truly fleshed out. But you also don't waste time. Like, we don't get like a long backstory with Friedrich and Olga Harding, but they're just fleshed out. They have personality, they have a marriage. We see their relationship, we see how much they love each other, their love for their children. And the relationships they have with Thomas and Ellen seems more palpable, seems real, seems genuine. It doesn't just seem like the two women are walking arm in arm and they're just like, oh my dear, da 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 da, you know, like just discussing mundane things like you see in period piece films. They feel like they have a true connection and relationship, and I love that because it makes you care for everyone more, you know. And then same with the men. There's nothing deep going on, but you know, they feel like pals. They feel like real friends, and it feels like a real relationship. Emma Corrin's character and Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, they're still very much side characters, but they have much more to work with in the original, and they both just act perfectly. Same with everyone. With Ralph Ennison, the guy from The Witch, him too. He's just not like a simple doctor with no personality, very British. Like, no, he adds to it. Everyone adds something in it. I love that. Like, they're not just wasted side characters. Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe is Willem Dafoe. He's hilarious. He's amazing. He adds humor to this film. He adds humor and heart because of his connection with Alan, which I'll get into later. But yeah, Willem Dafoe was incredible. Very eccentric, very theatrical. His performance is reminiscent, at least, of his performance in The Lighthouse, but not the same character. And he was interesting. He was a new interpretation of the Van Helsing character. I think his name was like Franz something. Nicholas Hoult was amazing as well. His scenes with Orlok are so nightmarish, and he does such a good job of bringing the audience with him so that we feel that fear with him. We feel that fear, that confusion. I love that this interpretation, it's not just like he's completely ignorant and oblivious to the evil, just like, oh, okay, that's weird, but whatever. He's acting all weird on his hand in like the first one, I think. Or maybe I'm thinking about Bram Stoker's Dracula, but where he's just acting very Orlok is acting incredibly strange, and Hutter is just kind of like he's weirded out, and he snaps out of it, and it's just like, okay, a little campy, little unrealistic. Here, it's much more atmospheric and much more nightmarish, where you feel like if he's under the influence of Orlok, and almost like he's drugged. He's not drugged, but just so you understand, like he's not in his right mind. Nicholas Hoult plays that so well, and again, it just adds to the immersion and brings the audience in further. And Bill, I'm saving Lily for last because I think she's the standout. And Bill Skarsgård, he was perfect. He was incredible. He was haunting. I wish I saw more of his body acting because, again, the film is so dark and he's so hidden. But his presence, I guess, his presence did the work, which comes more from Robert Eggers than Bill. But the scenes where you see Orlok full, head to toe, were great as well, while you see more than head to toe. You know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. I gotta say, I'm a fan of the mustache. When I heard about that, I was not excited for that. I was like, what the hell, A mustache? I don't know why, I just pictured like a very bushy. This one was still bushy, but I don't know, it fit. It's something about it, I can't articulate it. It fit his face, and it made him more menacing somehow. So I'm a fan of the mustache. I'm not a fan of him having a little bit of hair. He has like almost like a section of his head has hair, but everything else is bald. That was a little unrealistic to me. I mean, not unrealistic. I guess it's realistic because he's dead. But it was just not for me. I would have preferred him to be bald and have the stash. But yeah, he was great, and his voice was incredible, very deep. His voice was very deep, and whispery, but not almost like Voldemort, but not as low as Voldemort. Not like Harry Potter. He still was a very loud, and he projected, and he had such a presence, just his voice. And I was surprised with his voice pleasantly, because it sounded very much like Bela Lugosi, the original Dracula. And I believe that actor is Romanian. Just the way he rolled his R's was awesome, and he sounded like from a bygone era, and the way he looked. So it's an interesting interpretation, and I loved it. I loved the way Bill performed. Now, Lily Rose Depp, she needs to win an Oscar, man. I think she's the standout of this film. She is so incredible. She's so good. And I've said in my review for The Substance, but I feel like in horror, personally, actresses don't have that much to work with, because actors, it's their job. They have a skill set. They know how to act. And I feel like in horror, it's just like, be afraid and sometimes be rageful. But for the most part, it's just like, run and scream and cry. And again, actors, they have those tools, so it's not like the hardest thing for them. So that's why in The Substance, whatever, you can watch my review and see what I said about that. But here, it's like the same thing almost. I feel like her character has so much to do, so much range of emotion, so much nuances, complexities, and Lily completely delivers. She has so much suffering, so much sadness, so much melancholy, and also she's like possessed a lot in the film. And when she switches, she completely embraces that. She becomes that. And also she has a lot of seizures, and she just goes for it in those seizures. Like, man, they're horrifying. They're so intense. And I just love that when you could tell they're not worried about how they look, when they're just lost in the performance. And because, when people are uncomfortable or in distress, they sometimes make some pretty weird faces, sometimes even almost humorous. I feel like a lot of times, because actors have an ego or whatever, they don't go that far. So they just stick with like normal just expressions like or crying. She makes some weird faces in this film, and I loved it. She just looks so it looked so real. It just looked like she truly had no control of her body, and she just was possessed or having a seizure or just in great distress. And yeah, she goes to some dark places. But yeah, I view her performance here as like a Joker performance. And what I mean by that is that, you know, two actors have already won an Oscar for that role because of how much that role entails and how much it takes from you and how much it demands from the actor and how crazy and just different it is. And I feel like this role is that for Lily. It just demands so much, and she just met it head on. Clearly, she never was unbelievable in this film, never. And she just completely stood out to me. And I hope she gets an award, or maybe just gets a lot of praise. Like everyone just unanimously agrees that she's the best. Um, but yeah, she was incredible. Absolutely loved her. And yeah, I think that's everything. I love this film. Can't wait to see it again today. Probably will see it again. I actually saw it in 35 millimeter at the Chinese Theater. Check out my Instagram. I upload a little reel of my time at the Chinese Theater. My friend dressed up. I didn't quite dress up. I just wore the coat. But tonight I'm gonna wear this and wear a vest and stuff because it's, you know, I wanted to get in the spirit of Nosferatu. But at the Chinese Theater there were a few people that were dressed up, which was pretty awesome. And it seemed like everyone loved it. We talked to some people after, and yeah, everyone loved it. Yeah, I can't believe it's already here. To me, this film, I viewed it like almost like a superhero film or like some sort of big budget IP. I viewed it like that. I was that excited for it. It was just one of my most anticipated things. And though again, I had some issues, it wasn't the most perfect film for me. I left loving it, and at the end of the day, what else can you ask for, you know? So yeah, I'm very content, very happy with this. And yeah, I have a feeling I'm gonna just continue to love it more after I watch it. So after I watch it more times, I think I'll have more appreciation for it and all that. Oh, yeah, something I didn't even touch on, but the whole sexual aspect. I remember in my second trailer reaction, when she says, "You can't please me as he does." I remember being like, "Whoa!" Because I know there wasn't a sexual aspect in the first one, and in the '70s one, in the Werner Herzog, I don't think so either. Maybe a little bit of like sensuality, but not like this. This is psychosexual, crazy stuff going on here, and it works. It works. I guess it makes more sense for that type of lust to be taking place, so she could have that connection. But yeah, you'll see, or you know if you've seen it. Some crazy stuff in there, especially the ending. Those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on the film. Um, yeah, I would love to just hear more people's thoughts on the film, how much they loved it. I'm pretty sure everyone at least likes it. It's that great of a film. So, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, and thanks for watching.